When the Celtics made a big splash last week with a 3-team trade that brought Kristaps Porzingis to Boston, everyone seemed to be focused on what he can bring to them on the court. And that is no doubt a huge bonus for a team that seems to be on the verge of a title. But what struck me more was how the subtraction of the player going to Memphis can affect the team just as profoundly and potentially unlock a title. Before we get into how a 7'4" giant with some guard skills can tilt the playing field for the Celtics, let's quickly go over the Marcus Smart experience and why I felt he put a ceiling on their fortunes the past several seasons. Let's start in transition, where the Celtics ranked 10th in frequency but didn't fare better in terms of scoring because Smart turned in an all-time suboptimal performance. For context, he ranked 186th out of 192 players with at least 100 transition possessions, with the 8th worst turnover percentage. Turnovers during this phase of the attack are particularly egregious, and with Smart, they're centered on his passing. With these next two lob passes on the fast break, it revealed a disturbing trend that infected his half-court game as well. I like the idea of having a floor general out there directing traffic and getting everyone into the right positions, but it never felt like Smart had the skill level to be that guy. You see, lobs require a mix of decision-making and accuracy, which is why not a ton of players throw them consistently. He liked to throw these one-handed off the dribble, and while this was thrown as a no-look, if you go to the beginning of the play against the zone, Robinson can easily see him eyeing Brown early and reacts quickly enough to a pass that was a foot short anyway. The decision to throw this lob isn't a bad one as Tatum gets backdoor with a step on his defender, but Smart tries to throw this one-handed from 35 feet away and it's way off target. And it's not like he can't throw lobs, as his middle penetration sucks Lowry to him and he correctly finds Williams wide open, but even this pass wasn't particularly on target. Another issue Smart seems to have with his passing is when he wants to make a bounce pass. They tend not to be executed properly by not bouncing in the right spot, nor is the decision a good one to attempt the pass since the defender was in good position to steal it. This then bleeds into his pick and roll game, where he seems to have particular issues with his pocket passing. I'm all for creative ways to make passes with one hand, behind the back, hook passes, and everything in between. But this deep into his career, I can understand why the Celtics had finally had enough, considering these types of miscues shouldn't be happening to a starting caliber guard with lots of playoff experience playing in his 9th season. Of the 143 players who have used at least 100 pick and roll possessions, only 7 had a higher turnover percentage in the entire NBA. Then there are the plays where he clearly gets out ahead of his skis, trying to do way too much without the proper skill set. And when the margin for error is so small in the Eastern Conference playoffs, you simply can't afford to have a player who can commit these kind of awful turnovers so consistently. I also imagine seeing these decision-making issues come up at the end of key playoff games also became straws that broke the camel's back. With a chance to tie or win Game 1, the play was clearly designed for Brown coming around the double staggered screen and then Tatum trying to get open. Smart ignores it all to drive into the chest of his defender only to decide while in the air that it wasn't a good idea and then throw the ball away. In what was the most exciting moment of the Celtics season, they managed to extend the series when Derek White had the presence of mind to continue going to the basket to tip this in a fraction of a second before the buzzer went off. But the way he was guarded dictated Smart should have gotten the ball right back to him for a wide open look on the left side. Instead, he decides to just throw up a shot, and while it almost went in, this is a decision-making issue, not a results-based one. The Celtics also made a calculation when comparing Derek White's numbers to Smart's, and what they realized was that they had a much more reliable guard who could shoot a lot better from the field and make way less mistakes. Plus, he gives them very good defensive production as well. With White's playoff performance, he made Smart expendable. Memphis can definitely use him while Ja Morant serves his 25-game suspension next year, and you can be sure he'll fill up the box score. And if you want the opportunity to win some money on all that production, then you have to head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and check out Pick'em, where you can choose 2 to 5 players, then decide on the over-under for specific stats. It's super easy to set up, and you can win up to 20 times your initial entry fee. If you think Luke Weaver is going to get more than 3 strikeouts tonight, then pick the over and give yourself a chance to win some money. But it doesn't stop there. You can make it a rival and add players from different teams to make it even more interesting. They've also got drafts where you can compete against me. You think you got what it takes? If you click on the link below and use my promo code BBALL, you'll get a deposit match of up to $100. So if you want a chance to get up to 20 times your money or beat me in a draft, you've got to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use my code BBALL, get up to $100 in matching deposits, then you'll have a chance to win money while thinking about how the Celtics had already been playing at stretch 5 with Al Horford. But it was coaching criminality that he only took 29 pick and pops from behind the arc, considering he hit such a high percentage. Porzingis took more than twice as many per game, and just look at the shooting percentages of the top pick and pop guys last year. Everyone should be hunting these shots way more if these guys are going to get open so easily and knock them down so efficiently. With Porzingis, he's so much taller than everybody else that he can see over any type of contest, and he's got good rhythm and form, so I would expect the Celtics to build off of their existing philosophy and find KP way more often after he sets the ball screen. While his post-up numbers are very good, he did the bulk of his damage against severe mismatches after forcing the switch. So, don't expect him to just command low post position, call for the ball, and go to work with his back to the basket. It's usually a bit awkward in these situations, and he's infinitely better turning these into mid-range shots after facing up. He's good at this kind of thing, but there's also evidence that when attacking a smaller player, he doesn't get calls he should, which can affect the outcome. Perhaps the refs feel sorry for the shorties trying to guard him and give them the benefit of the doubt more often, so don't hold your breath waiting for the Celtics to throw it down low to him in crunch time when they absolutely need a bucket. The biggest issue the Celtics have is which positions they intend to play these guys in. While the modern game is more positionless than ever, the best high-volume three-point season Jason Tatum had was when he played almost exclusively at the power forward in 1920. The Celtics posted their highest offensive rating as a team in the Tatum era that year until last year, and I do understand they were the best offense in the league with Tatum playing the 4 only 34% of the time. But I'm convinced that the key to a deep playoff run will be the advantage they have with Porzingis at the 5, Tatum at the 4, and Brown playing small forward with White and Malcolm Brogdon in the backcourt. This gets Brown creating less and falling into turnover issues like we saw in last year's playoffs. And while these 4 alongside Horford last year didn't exactly light it up, I think the added dimension of ball handling and shot creation that Porzingis brings can unlock even more for the Celtics. The first thing you'll notice with this group is how much space there is to operate in, and Jason Tatum will benefit the most as sharpshooters Brogdon and White can pull their men out of the way, and despite average three-point shooting, Brown does command some gravity as well. It wouldn't be hard to imagine Porzingis in that left corner and his defender unwilling to stray too far off of him, meaning there's no help on this Tatum drive for the layup. There seemed to be some grumbling about Malcolm Brogdon from Celtics fans during the postseason, but he's a very good pick-and-roll ball handler, makes great decisions consistently, doesn't try to do too much, and makes the right play way more often than not. I really like the Brogdon-Tatum two-man game with the cleared outside, as Brogdon has no problem making the simple pocket pass and Tatum can do the rest. With such good perimeter scorers around Porzingis, they should be able to get some beautiful ball movement and force major rotations to hunt wide-open corner threes. And with Brogdon running the Spain pick and roll, Tatum steps out from behind the ball screener, Brogdon reads it perfectly, and they get another great look. I love this horn set, where they put Brown and Tatum at the elbows with Brogdon out top. This back screen quickly turns into a backdoor spin, with Brown making the nice feed for another Tatum layup without any help rotations. Out of a similar setup, they run a weak side split action with the ball in the high post. The more the Celtics get Brown and Tatum involved in weak side action, the better, as the flare screen catches the defense on the wrong side of the cutting Tatum, who can go to work down low, again with tons of space when the defense doesn't want to leave the shooters. And White is decent running the pick and roll with a much lower turnover percentage than Marcus Smart, as he can throw the pocket pass with better accuracy. So, does this move finally pave the way for the Celtics to not only get to the finals, but to win it all? The biggest issue is that they're relying on some guys that tend to miss a ton of games year after year. So, if they can't figure out how to load manage their playing time, the biggest obstacle in their way of a title will be injuries that disrupt the chemistry needed to win the NBA championship.